Well, thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, and I am excited to be here with you guys. So today, as we dive into this thing, um, the hope really is that you guys just kind of walk away with a little bit of extra information, maybe a little bit more educated on how a pool leak inspection can help you guys as you prepare for hurricane season each year. So again, my name's Will Diefenbach. I work with Aqua. We're based out of Southwest Florida, running up and down the Gulf Coast here. Um, and again, excited to be here. So let's dive into this thing. Before we get into hurricane leak pool prep, I wanted to actually give you guys just kind of some tidbits on just regular hurricane pool prep. I feel like this is important. If you guys don't have a checklist of things you guys are actively working on when we start to walk into hurricane season or as hurricanes approach, I'd recommend screenshotting this picture right here so that you guys can make sure that you guys are prepared. So, a couple of just tips, nothing to do with leak detection just yet, but just a couple of tips. Number one, remove projectiles from the pool deck. This is probably the most important thing that I want to share with you guys. If you look at commercial pools, you have chairs, umbrellas, shade canopies, tables. Basically, you just have missiles sitting on your pool deck waiting for a hurricane to come in and blow them away, blow them into the equipment room, blow them into the pool, putting holes in the pool, or even blowing them into your condo association's windows and those kind of areas. So we want to remove those first and foremost. Ideally, move them inside. If you've ever heard somebody say, hey, just take it all and throw it in the pool, I would lean towards use that as a last minute emergency. Oops, we forgot to do this. We need to get them out of here. The hurricane's here. The reason we don't want to throw those chairs and the umbrellas and those kind of things into the pool, most of them are made out of cheap metal, which is going to end up rusting in your pool. And then on the back end of the hurricane, you guys are going to have rust stains in the pool and they're a pain in the butt to get out. So ideally, move them all inside. Second little tip for pool prep is shut off the power. There's multiple reasons for this. Number one, power surges can kill pumps, can kill heaters, and automation. As the hurricane is coming in, you guys are going to want to shut off the power during that peak of the storm. Um, the second reason is this: if a hurricane comes and your pool suddenly becomes filled, I don't know how many of you guys are coastal, um, but if your pool suddenly becomes filled with sand or mud or drains completely empty, you don't want the pump to turn back on when the power comes back and end up burning up the pump. We know that those things can be very expensive. Don't let it happen to you. Just before the storm, make sure that you guys are shutting off all the breakers. Turn it back on once the storm has passed. Superchlorinate or hyperchlorinate your pool. Shock the pool to eliminate the bacteria. If you guys lived through Milton, Helene, any of the Irma, all of these hurricanes, you guys probably know that many people went a week, 2 weeks, or even more without power. Now, that chlorine's not going to stay in the pool for super long. However, if it helps eliminate some of the bacteria that can grow, helps to maybe eliminate some of the mosquito larvae that are trying to hatch and grow into mosquitoes in your pool, we want to eliminate those kind of things. So shock the pool. That's one you may want to be in touch with your pool service company about prior to the storm. Next, take photos. I actually do this at my own personal home. Anytime a storm is coming in, I take a video and just kind of walk through the entire house, go through the whole yard. Hey, here's my shed. Here's what's in my shed. Here's my treehouse for the kids, and here's what's going on inside the house. I've got appliances, all these things, right? Same thing with the commercial pools. You want to take a video or get photos of you guys walking around, get photos or video of what's on the pool deck, the pool condition itself, the equipment room. Make sure you highlight the pump and the heaters and everything else that's in that equipment room so that in the event of a worst case scenario, These things are all documented, prepared to share with the insurance. And lastly, one of the most important things I think is clear out any clogged overflow lines. You want to make sure that when we're getting 6 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches of rain, you want to make sure that that water has somewhere to go. The overflow was designed to drain it away from, hopefully, was designed to drain it away from the condo itself, out of the equipment room, and just making sure that it floods back into an area of low lying where the water can go to low lying levels. Here's a quick photo. It's not the greatest photo, but it's the one that I could find. I wanted to show you guys this. This is what I was talking about when I say missiles on the pool deck. If you guys look at the left side of this photo, there is chairs, tables, umbrellas. On the far end, you can see the lifesaver ring. Um, those are the things that you guys definitely want to get off the pool deck because they will go straight through a window, and especially the umbrellas, they'll disappear. So move those inside somewhere safe. Now, hurricane pool prep, as we talk about pre-storm leak detection, there's a couple of big benefits here to if you haven't done a pre-storm leak detection or call it an inspection, it's something to consider. The benefits are this. Number one, it's going to document your pool and the condition of it for insurance purposes. Insurance, and I can't speak in, I was an insurance agent for a little while, but I can't speak definitively to it. Um, Most of the time doesn't like to cover things with pools. They will maybe in the middle of a hurricane or something like that. But a lot of times they try to say that the hurricane didn't cause any damage, the hurricane didn't break the pipes that were under the deck, those kind of things. If we come out prior to a storm, hopefully in, let's call it April or early May, and we come out and we say, hey, the pool's in great condition. There's no leaking plumbing, there's no cracks in the pool, the equipment is all operational, and we photograph that and document it all. And then a hurricane comes in, and all of a sudden, you've got leaking pipes everywhere, you've got equipment that has failed. Maybe it's the push that helps the insurance go, it was good before the storm, it's bad after the storm, it's going to be covered. So hopefully for the sake of insurance, you guys will be able to have documentation there. And lastly here, it actually ensures that the pool is watertight and won't drain down while the power and the water are turned off. If you guys have ever dealt with a pool leak, you know sometimes they're small, sometimes they're huge. And if we lose power and we lose access to water, which we did after multiple hurricanes, and your pool already had a leak and begins to drain down and we can't get out there to fill it up, you're at risk for the pool to pop. And what I mean by that is you have fully saturated ground. The hurricane just dumped 10, 12 inches of water onto the ground. It's just a wet mess under your pool deck, like a river running under there. And if your pool drains down, that hydrostatic pressure can push up on the outside walls of your pool and lead to this. Another helpful tip, do not drain your pool. And this is exactly why right here. If you have saturated ground, water is going to push up on that thing. And even though it's made of concrete, it seems heavy. It's going to float just like a boat. We don't want this to happen. We saw this happen on multiple commercial pools. There's sometimes that there's nothing you can do about it. We had beachfront pools down here after Helene that were literally broken in half by the wind and the waves, mostly the waves there, obviously. But best thing is don't drain your pool. If you've ever had anybody give you information about that, saying, hey, drain your pool down 12 inches, 15 inches to make sure that it has room for that hurricane rain, I recommend just leave it. You have overflows. If it's raining 15 to 20 inches or whatever it ends up being, the ground is probably so wet it's just going to fill up the pool and flood the area just like the ground is already flooding. So draining your pool, big no-no. Repeat it again. Please do not drain your pool. I can't fix a leak on that, by the way. That's a tear out. As we push forward, one of the common questions that we get is, where are the leaks? Where's the most common places for leaks to show up? And it's really three things. Number one, it's anywhere that plastic meets concrete. The good news is those are usually fixed by about just about every pool leak detection company out there on the same day as the actual inspection. And it's usually fixed with a very simple two-part epoxy or hydraulic cement, depending on how big it is. The second most common place is glue joints. These are the leaks that happen in your PVC pipes at the T-joints and the elbows that are hidden underneath of the deck. As the ground shifts and moves and settles, especially during hurricanes, you get that really saturated ground that again kind of becomes like a river under the ground. You can get a little bit of movement in the dirt under there. And the glue joint, the PVC is somewhat flexible, but the glue joints themselves tend to be rigid and stiff. And so most of the time when we see a plumbing leak, it's actually at a glue joint, whether that be a coupling, an elbow, or a T. And lastly, one of the other most common places is cracks. This usually happens, truthfully, it usually happens when the pool is first built. You just don't notice it. And what happens is the deep end begins to settle because it holds so much more water. The weight of it begins to settle, whereas the shallow end doesn't settle as much. And so you get a small crack that'll form usually somewhere around the tile line. And over the years, it'll work itself down. Now, when it comes to hurricanes, again, you get all that moving dirt and debris underneath of the pool, that saturated ground. Now things really begin to settle, and you run a big risk of the pool cracking. Uh, Hopefully not in half or anything like that. I apologize. I've got a dog barking in the background. I'm back. I wanted to show you guys a couple examples of these. This is where plastic meets pool surface. So if you guys look at the bottom left side of this, the mirror is showing you where a leak is actually hiding. That little pinhole right there is the leak that we found in this pool. The good news is this is a simple fix, epoxy, and it's done the same day. Keep on moving. This is a commercial backpack. You guys are probably familiar with it if you've ever walked out and looked at the pool equipment. This one here, you can actually see the cracks that I was talking about. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but on the far left-hand side at the very top, you'll start to see this little crack running down this concrete pit. And then all the way down here at the bottom, you've got this delamination on that wall. And they've got some major leaks going on in this pit. This pit will actually end up getting relined, maybe a crack repair or staple, and re-cemented. And then we talked about the plumbing leaks, right? I wanted to show you guys a good example of that. This is where a coupling is meeting up with, this is flex pipe, so it's not quite a stiff PVC. And we've got a slipped coupling right there. And that's what it looks like under the deck there. Another question is, are there more risks in commercial pool versus residential pools? In the grand scheme of things, every pool is going to leak at some point in time. And so the risk of a leak, not a whole lot more or not a whole lot different than residential versus commercial. However, in commercial pools, we do see a little bit more activity, right? So you're going to see more wear and tear. The more wear and tear you have, the more likely you're going to see that pool surface wear down, the concrete wear out. Chemicals are always kind of being adjusted in those things. And so you tend to see bigger leaks in commercial pools. You also have the more expensive items within the pool, right? You've got bigger pumps, bigger piping, and bigger water features. Whenever you start adding bigger things, obviously you could call it risk, right? A pump on a residential home is anywhere from about $1,000 up to about $2,000, whereas some of these bigger 3-horse, 4-horse, 5-horsepower pumps can run anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000, depending on what type of pump it is. You've got more risk with chemicals being off, trip hazards. This is more about lawsuits right here. If the chemicals are off, I'm sure we've all heard of people getting, can't remember the name of the illness. There's a waterborne illness that sometimes comes up. And so the health department is very quick to shut you down if the chemicals are off. You definitely don't want any kind of illness coming out of your pool. You've got trip hazards if you have pavers or concrete and you've got a leak underneath the pool deck that has gone on for a long time. You can get settling, which can cause a trip hazard. And then if for some reason you have to shut down the pool to do major repairs, you can also have a loss of income. So definitely some risks going on there. And then when it comes to the hurricanes, obviously having, we talked about it earlier, having those umbrellas, having all those things on the pool deck definitely presents some hazards. So make sure you guys are taking that pre-hurricane checklist and getting stuff off of the pool deck. Some myths and misconceptions. A lot of times I think people tend to think a renovation on a pool will fix everything. I'm not going to deal with the pool leak today. I'm going to just get a renovation and all of my problems will go away. A lot of times we find that that is a myth. It may help with some of the structure leaks. However, if you have plumbing leaks, when people come out and they do a renovation on your pool, they're usually not repiping everything. And so if you have a plumbing leak, it's not going to go away. If the pool company doesn't know you have leaks and cracked lights and different, like the main drain canisters, the renovation company may not find that when the pool is emptied and they're just resurfacing over top of everything. So again, if I ignore it, it'll go away. Leaks never go away. They only get worse. And so make sure you guys are taking care of them. Another myth, plumbing leaks, or misconception, I should say. Plumbing leaks require tearing up the entire deck and repiping. I was recently, I should have taken a photo of this. I was recently at a job where the homeowner knew she had a leak in, I think it was the pool return line, right? The jets going back to the pool. And she didn't know where it was. And she literally dug up the entire yard. This is like a 70-year-old lady, dug up the entire yard following the piping, trenched or got the pavers out of the way and exposed the piping from the equipment back to the pool. It was like 40 foot of digging that this poor lady did. And it all turned out to be right at the wall fitting inside of the pool. And we never had to dig in her yard at all. So when it comes to plumbing leaks, sometimes they're very small openings. Rarely have we ever seen anybody have to actually repipe an entire line. Most of our repairs are on a residential pool or done in a 12 by 12 inch opening. And on a commercial pool, usually you have bigger piping. So we're talking about maybe 2 foot by 2 foot squares in the pool deck to do a repair, not repiping the whole thing. Another misconception, concrete pools are heavy. They definitely are heavy, but we are going to reference back to, where's my photo? This. Even a large commercial pool has risk of floating. So adding water is cheaper than a leak detection. That is definitely a misconception. Some people will, especially on commercial pools, I find they're oftentimes very, very guilty of, well, my water bill's kind of crept up over the years and our autofill is constantly running. Leak detections typically cost on a residential pool anywhere from about $300 up to about $500. On a commercial pool, anywhere from $400 up to, I'm going to say about $1,800 if you have a very, very large pool. The amount of water that commercial pools lose, I would expect that your water bill is just soaring through the roof, and you may or may not notice unless you're actually watching it because you got the entire association on that water bill. Adding water in the long run is not cheaper. Getting a leak detection done, making sure that everything is sealed up and good to go is definitely the way to go. On top of that, your commercial pools require so many chemicals that if your pool service company is charging you extra for chemicals because non-treated water keeps getting added into the pool, that adds up a lot too. So adding water is definitely not cheaper than a leak detection. So how can a hurricane actually impact your pool? Kind of hinted at this a little bit earlier. Storm surge can definitely destroy a pool, regardless of how prepared you are. Um, we've seen pools again cracked in half. I've seen pools lifted up and broken in half, and half of the pool has floated 10 to 15 feet away and gotten set down. Um, Wind will turn your umbrellas, your pool equipment, your entire equipment house um, into just rubble. So beware that the wind can affect the pool and the equipment, as well as the umbrellas and things that you have on the pool deck. And then lastly, debris can fill your pool. If I would love to see this in the comments, how many of you guys have a beachfront commercial pool that you manage, or even bayfront, I should say, that when the hurricanes came in, whether it be from Irma all the way up through Milton and Helene, did your pool get filled up with sand or debris? We spent last year alone, we spent 4 months with 8 techs working 7 days a week, just cleaning out debris in people's pools after those hurricanes. So again, this is an example I wanted to share with you guys of storm surge, right? There is absolutely no preparation that you can do that would stop the storm surge from destroying this pool, unfortunately. So some things we can control, some things we can't. This pool is obviously toast. Here's a game. Instead of where's Waldo, where's the pool? You guys can see, if you look closely, you guys can see this is the deep end ladder. This is probably some entry steps right here, and maybe some more entry steps over here as well, maybe for a spa or something like that. When we talk about these pools being filled up with debris and with sand, now somebody's got to come in and try to get all of this out. And most people don't want to use a backhoe to remove all this sand, because what they're going to do is end up breaking the pool shell, and then you're going to end up having to get a whole new pool. So a lot of this is a lot of labor of just digging constantly for days trying to get this stuff out. So again, there's nothing you can do to stop this. This is all from storm surge and hurricanes, but they can definitely make an impact on pools. Again, how hurricanes can impact a pool: water table shift and hydrostatic pressure. When that ground becomes saturated, and we talked about this earlier, right? When that ground becomes saturated, water's flowing all over the place. You can get voids underneath of the deck where the sand and the dirt that is underneath of your pool deck begin to settle and move. When that happens, your piping can actually twist and break as it bends. And then again, if you take one thing away from this, please don't drain your pool. That hydrostatic pressure is nothing to mess around with. If you guys, there was a great video somebody posted on YouTube a few years back. There was a hurricane up the East Coast, and this lady said, I was told to drain my pool. And she's literally videoing as it's popping and raising out of the ground. So don't let that be you. Put it in there again just for fun. So how does a leak pre-storm affect you post-storm? Again, with no power, with no water, you may be left unable to fill the pool. Again, if that leak drains your pool directly after a hurricane, you are at risk for that pool popping. So making sure that they are sealed up, all of your leaks are taken care of prior to the storm, very important. And here's some signs. If you guys are noticing that your water level is dropping and your autofill can't keep up, or you're noticing that your autofill is constantly running, there's a very good chance that you have a leak. If you're walking around the yard and you notice that you've got soggy areas somewhere around the dirt between the pool and the equipment, there's a good chance you got a leak there. And if you notice that the chemicals are so far off that you're getting algae blooms, or your pool service company is yelling at you because they're using way more chemicals in your pool than the next pool over, there's a good chance that what's going on is you have a leak and all of the chemicals are just getting washed right out of that leak. Another great sign, walk around the pool. If you see huge cracks on the pool deck leading right up to the edge of the pool, lean over the edge of that pool and kind of follow it down. You might actually find that the crack goes across the deck, wraps around the coping, and then down the pool wall. Or sometimes you can walk up and physically just see a massive crack running up that pool wall. And then obviously, if you have unusually high utility bills or even air in the return lines, both are very good indications that something is going on and probably worth getting an inspection done for you. So when is the creating a seasonal leak inspection plan? When's the best time to schedule an inspection? Typically, if we're talking about a pre-storm leak inspection, you're going to want to do that in late April to early June, right? As close to hurricane season as you can. So add that to the calendar of something to consider as you guys are going into this next year. Praise God, we have not had any major hurricanes this year, and hopefully it will continue that way for the rest of this season. What to include in a vendor scope of work? As you're calling around, make sure that they're going to do a handful of things for you when they come out for that leak inspection. Number one, we talked about it earlier. Check the overflow. Make sure the overflow is clean and clear and ready to flow. Find and fix any leaks, right? We don't want just an inspection. We want to make sure that that pool is sealed up and no more leaks are present. We also want to inspect the equipment. What works, what doesn't work, and document it, right? We want to make sure that they're not just checking the structure, but they're also checking the plumbing. By structure, I mean that tile line all the way down to the main drain, everywhere across the pool surface, making sure there's no leaks in there, but also checking all of the plumbing so that you guys have documentation and assurance that your pool is in good shape pre-storm, so that after the storm, if something comes up, you can say, hey, look, after the storm, now I've got a leak. And then obviously just that documentation for the insurance and for your own cam records. So what are some of the post-storm protocols? What to do on the back end of a storm? Number one, just walk around the pool deck yourself. Go out there, look at it, look for new cracks that have shown up in the pool or the deck, right? We did this pre-storm, we took photos, we took videos as we walked around. Now we're coming in on the backside and we're just double checking, right? So check for those cracks in the pool, check for any kind of settling in the deck that has shown up, and then obviously inspect the equipment for flooding and for water damage. If you guys had a ton of water rush into that pool house or the equipment room, there's a very good chance that especially if it went under salt water, most of that stuff's going to be toast anyways. And so it will be time to probably replace that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but inspect for flooding or water damage. Vendor involvement. If you are concerned that you have a leak show up on the backside, call a leak detection company, have them come back out, do another leak detection, document everything, and now you'll have both reports, both pre-storm and post-storm, if there was an issue. And then obviously, if needed, report it to the insurers, make sure the board's aware of everything going on. Hopefully it's good news if a leak detection company comes out and says, hey, there's actually nothing going on, maybe a clogged line here and there, clear that stuff out. Make sure the board's up to date and that the residents are up to date so they all have peace of mind knowing that their little vacation spot here in Florida is working. So this would be another great shot to screenshot for you guys. It's just the checklist. So do a pre-storm leak inspection with or photos and documentation. If you do a leak inspection, almost every company has gone digital and will have photos and documentation telling you what's good and what's not good. Again, clear the deck of debris prior to the storm, clear out the overflow, keep your pool at operating level, have your service provider info. So this is for chemicals, right? You're going to want to make sure that you have that phone number on hand so that right after the storm, you can call your pool service provider and say, hey, Mosquitoes are starting to show up. Can you get out here and get my pool cleaned up? And lastly, make sure you have your leak detection provider info just in case something's going on. We don't want your pool to drain. We don't want those leaks to go unchecked. Have somebody come out and take a look. And I think that is getting to the end of this thing. And we have some questions for you guys.
We have some questions for everyone. So, yay. Will, you make leaks fun.
I try. They are fun.
If I see Lindsay smiling, I know it's fun. Okay, guys, I am so sorry. Every time I do something wrong, the whole I am not perfect is so real with me. I did not have the chat on for everyone to see everybody communicating. So I now have edited it. So if everybody can put in their answer to question 1, we'll read the question as I see everyone answering. I'll start saying what the answers are being said on the chat, and then Will tell us what the answer is, and then we'll go on to the next one and finish up for this morning. So
You
Will,
got it.
we are getting varying answers. We're getting B's, we're getting C's.
Yeah. So, what is a common sign of a pre-storm leak?
And then we had someone said A as well, and then someone said a high bill.
So, here's the
So yeah.
deal. This one, we put it as higher than average water bill. But you know what? I'm going to give credit to anybody that says A or C because truthfully, if your chemicals are off, your pool's probably going to be turning green. Or if you're using a ton of chlorine, you probably got a leak because the chlorine is getting washed out. So, kind of a trick question. Multiple answers. B is probably the best bet, guaranteed. If your water bill is going up, something's going on. Number 2, why is a pre-hurricane pool inspection important? To increase insurance premiums, we all love that, to catch structural issues before the storm, to clean pool filters, or to reduce pool usage.
Getting all B's.
All
B's
B's. They
across the
should be.
board.
They should be all B's because a leak detection does not clean your filters. So it is to catch structural issues before the storm. What is a sign of a plumbing leak? A loud pump, cloudy water, air in the return lines, or green walls?
Okay, varying answers here. We're getting A's, we're getting C's, we're getting a D. What's okay?
I'm going to say reread that question. What is a sign of a plumbing leak this time? Not just a normal leak.
Oh, so there you have
Air
it.
in the return
Trick
line.
question in there.
Yeah. You know what? I just noticed that says B. It was actually C.
Oh, let's
My
edit
bad.
that one.
I will edit that, you guys. I'm
Yeah.
full of trick questions. Air in the return lines. When should a seasonal leak inspection be scheduled? A, after hurricane season. B, midwinter. C, before hurricane season. Or D, during holidays.
We're getting B's, C's, N and A. There's a C and an A.
If anybody put D, they are fired from being a cam.
Oh, fired, he said.
Nobody wants you to shut down during the holidays. Everybody's down here to enjoy the pools. The answer, before hurricane season. Question 5. What roles do cams play in storm prep? Approving resident parties, checking lifeguard shifts, preserving community infrastructure, or repairing pool tiles? How many of you camps are
Okay.
out there repairing pool tiles?
All C's across the board.
All C's. Amen. Preserving community infrastructure. What natural forces increase hydrostatic pressure? This one's kind of a trick answer. It's not as tricky as it could be, but it's
I
there.
don't know. Oh, some B's and some D's.
Yeah. So B's affect the D's. It's the water table rise. So when we get a ton of heavy rain or flooding, that water table is going to rise, and that will increase that hydrostatic pressure. Number 7, what should be included in a vendor scope of work? Photos only, a written report and a plumbing test, just a phone call, or a simple chlorine reading.
Bees, 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 bees.
Bees, bees, bees. A written report and a plumbing test. There's a whole lot more that should be included too, but definitely got to have those. What utility bills might rise with a pool leak? I have to do some edits on this again. Increased algae use, refilling lost water, more lighting, or storm watch alerts. What utility bills might rise?
Bee, 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 bee. Bees across the board.
B, your water bill, refilling lost water. Post-storm, what should CAMs prioritize? Painting fences, resident emails, leak inspections, or scheduling events?
Bees across the board.
Right. That's right. Those fences can wait. Do a leak
Yeah.
inspection. And I think this is the final question. Which of the following can worsen an existing pool leak? Solar covers, hurricane winds, swimmers, or sunlight?
We have some B's and some C's.
The swimmers are causing the leaks. No, the hurricanes, the hurricane winds, and everything that goes with them. Thank you guys so much for attending today. I appreciate the opportunity. Can I say a few other little tidbits?
Please,
A couple of
please.
little other things I would love for you guys to know. It is a great thing to schedule a pre-storm leak inspection. You guys having the doc, just like a condo inspection, an engineering inspection, knowing the status of your pool is always helpful. Um, Know this though, typically the biggest leaks that we see occur during the winter. We're heading into that season right now. As we leave rainy season and your pool is constantly filling up, we're heading into the winter. And for a lot of people, that means we're really going to start to see drier weather. We're going to see those water levels start to drop and leaks start to become much more apparent. And so as you guys head into the winter, make sure you're keeping an eye on your overflows. All leak detections across the state become extremely busy in January. And so if you want to get something scheduled early because you noticed it early, you're paying attention to it, I would call and get something done. Um, and as we head into January, just know that sometimes it can take them a week or 2 weeks to get out there to you guys. So be prepared. We're heading into leak season right now. So that's
Okay.
a
I
little
I
helpful.
I have some questions for you. Everyone,
Sure.
you're seeing an old slide. We will update our slides. Will's information is correct, but the information about sending it to Lindsay is not. She will add it into the chat here when I start asking questions. I'm also putting into the chat so it's easy to cut and paste, or it's easy to take a picture of Will's information. I put his website and his email. Will you just say your service areas, because I know that you cover a nice ground and they come highly recommended, not just because we work with them. I have the Florida Swimming Pool Association as a client, and their Will and Aqua Leak Detection are and have been heavily involved in that member organization, and he sits on the board of directors, so he's at the forefront of the industry and is, continuing to lead the industry in leak detection. So we cannot speak highly enough about their business. So service area as well.
Yeah, so we run anywhere from Apollo Beach down to Marco Island along the west coast of Florida. During the slower times, summer times when the pools are filling up and the rains are coming, we'll venture out a little bit farther just because it's slow enough, all the way over to Lake Okeechobee. But we typically stay off of the East Coast. If you guys ever need a recommendation for a leak detection company, if we're not in your area, I would love to help you guys out. I've got some great friends anywhere from Miami all the way up to Orlando and even beyond. So would love to be a reference for you guys or just a resource for you.
Thank you, Will. Okay,
Yeah.
a couple questions that came in, and then we'll open it up to all. Those of you that are asking questions about how to submit, we appreciate your patience as we go through the course and everything that we need to do before we do that. The cost for pre-storm leak inspection, can you just give us an average of what they can expect on a commercial pool?
Sure. So for us, a commercial pool typically ranges anywhere from about $400 to $1,100, depending on the size and the scope of work. So if you have gutters, like gutter ports on it, running around the edge of it, or you have a larger commercial pool, you're probably up in that $1,100 range. If you have just a normal, little bit smaller pool or a jacuzzi or something like that on site, you're talking about anywhere in that 400 to about $750 range. If you have a giant resort style pool with walk-in beaches and all these kind of things, it can jump up to about 1,800 on the high end. I rarely have ever seen a leak detection quote go any higher than that. Not saying
And
they can't.
then And then for board members that are with HOAs, do you want to just cover residential?
Sure, residential, a pool only, so no spa attached, is $375. That's structure check, plumbing check, any patchwork, and obviously the report that goes with it. If you have a spa attached, it's $475. Additional features have additional cost. So,
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
yeah.
What is hydrostatic?
Hydrostatic pressure, it's the pressure of water pushing down on the outsides of your pool that are going to make it float up like a boat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if it makes sense to me, it should make sense to everyone
Sure.
because you explained it properly. Okay, anybody else with any questions? Feel free to throw it into the chat right now. Lindsay, any questions for Will?
No, I think that covers it. Thank you so much. And I would just like to back him up on his pricing there. Good pricing. You know, they have good pricing on that. And keep in mind, if you have these commercial pools, if you have a leak and you're continuing to fill it, it's worth it to get it inspected and get it fixed because you're going to continue to spend an excessive amount of money on the water every month, probably exceeding what it would cost to have it inspected.
Absolutely. So, thank you guys
Absolutely.
again. I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
everyone,
you,
I'm going to put
Will.
the link and the code word in the chat now. I did put it in there before. Please do not email me. If you emailed me, I will respond to you, but you will still need to go and put your information in the form through the link, which I am going to share now. The course name is Before the Storm. The code word is storm. It is not case sensitive. Just make sure you get the information in there and we will get you your credit.
Okay, people are saying nice presentation, great presentation. Thank you both. You're welcome. Thank you all for attending. Bye, Will. Thank you, everyone.